Hi, this is Mark Shaw with Accent Gold Solutions, and today we're going to be presenting RAMP, our rebate application management platform. To begin with, let's go through a little background of Accent Gold Solutions. It began with Tim Priestley and Mark Shaw. We've partnered with Microsoft and come up with a product called RAMP. We've implemented our DSM tracking systems across North America for the last 12 years or so. And our company began actually in 1998. We then formulated ourselves into Accent Gold Solutions in 2002. We did our first implementation of our DSM tracking system in 2006, became Microsoft partners in 2009, and rebuilt our tracking system on that basis. We then partnered with ESP Energy Platforms in 2014 because of their excellent technology for measure calculators. We rebranded our product name to Dynamic DSM in 2015, added our model library, our Energy Star integrations in 2016, and then in 2017, Microsoft Dynamics introduced their new portal configuration kit. And we built our portal for Dynamic DSM and RAMP at that point. If we were to do a project with you, you'd be working with Tim Priestley and myself, and we would pull in some of our key players, which would be Daniel Trinka. He takes care of everything data and integrations. He's excellent. He's been in the field for many, many years. Jonathan Galvan, who is our configuration architect. He knows the system like the back of his hand and helped design many components for configuring Dynamic DSM and RAMP. And Tiffany Marcos, who is our senior project manager and actually our executive director of the PMO here at Accent Gold Solutions. She does a fantastic job and has been in the industry for quite some time. In terms of implementations that we've done with either RAMP or with Dynamic DSM, you see a gamut of different utilities across North America that we've worked with closely over the last 13, 14 years. The main components of RAMP, we begin with Microsoft Dynamics 365. Microsoft Dynamics is really the backbone engine. We used to call it Microsoft Dynamics CRM, which is still what it is, but they've rebranded it to 365. It's got the complete Azure security platform, which means you can trust it. It is bulletproof. It does have the highest certifications, higher security certifications than Amazon Web Services or the Google Cloud. What we have is a portal that is accessible for you from all kinds of different devices and for all kinds of different user types. So we also have the mobile access. So you can access the system through the portal, through the mobile framework, and the goal is to make it easy and simple for smaller utilities to get up and running in a turnkey fashion very rapidly. We have a workflow engine that's built right into Microsoft Dynamics that we leverage and we just configure. We have a project bulk uploader. We'll be showing you that. We have integration and migration tools. We have several of them, but one of our favorites is SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services, because it's a common framework that is really known to many of our clients, known to your IT staffs, and very effective. People know how to work with the SSIS packages, how to set up the queries, the rules, the triggers, etc. We also do our reporting through Power BI reporting, and we are able to show that and expose that to the portal, the mobile framework, to make that useful. It is interactive, so that you can keep clicking and drilling down as far as makes sense for you. No official limit on that. Email notifications are built right in because of the marketing platform that comes with the Microsoft Dynamics framework. There's also our equipment library, which we mentioned earlier, integration with Energy Star, but also the ability to create your own equipment library and tie that into your measures. We have measure calculators that let you do virtually anything you want, regardless of how complex it is, in terms of setting up your own calculators. And we also have rules for security users, security roles, and permissions, which allows you to lock down the data and expose the data as you want. So as to who has visibility and who can perform tasks. And again, this is all done by us through configuration. We handle that for you. So in terms of market sectors that we cover here in RAMP, the first one is commercial. We've got residential, industrial, low income, and also the multifamily. We can cover other market sectors, but these are the typical ones that we leverage in the system. In terms of common programs, you have the prescriptive, direct install. You have several more that are fairly standard, and you'll be seeing these. These are probably very familiar to you. What we're going to key on is 3 example programs here in this presentation. First being the typical rebate, second being a home energy audit, and the third being something like a smart thermostat, an upload. So let's begin here. The typical rebate, maybe it's a furnace, a water heater, a boiler, something fairly standard. So we have our RAMP customer portal that is built right into RAMP, and we have our customer. We also have our utility portal, where our utility users will be able to engage in the portal directly with the customers. So let's begin. The customer navigates to the utility website and selects a rebate program. Customer applies for the rebate. The energy efficiency staff receives an email alert. The staff then views the application in the dashboard and schedules an inspection if applicable. Now, if it is applicable, then the partner is assigned to perform the inspection on site. Partner then updates the application information with inspection details. That gets back then and goes onto the utility user's dashboard, who then approves and can initiate payment. The customer then gets the audit report via email. The customer also is able to review the application and the entire process in the dashboard, and then finally receives the incentive check. We also can work with bill credits or other types of disbursements, but this is probably the most common. Then there's follow-up. So the staff person at the utility is then prompted to follow up after a certain period of time, and they then contact and notify the customer of maybe any new programs that are going on or other options that are available. Customer then can apply for another rebate, and around we go. Another example is the home energy audit, and we're going to take a look here at our customer and our partner who will be working closely together on this one. Our customer navigates to the portal, selects a partner, and applies for the audit. The partner receives the email, including a login link just to click on. The partner sees the request in the portal dashboard and schedules the audit within the portal. Partner performs the audit on site, updates the audit in the portal, and then the staff at the utility approves and initiates the payment. Again, the customer sees the audit reports, sees the data and the report in the dashboard, receives a check, and applies for another rebate. In the meantime, the partner is prompted to follow up and can notify the customer about any other new programs. Thirdly, we have the thermostat or a direct install program that we use our bulk upload function. So, for example, the customer, the commercial customer, can go into the portal and run the upload of a large number of projects that they have performed. Maybe they're a delivery agent. We also have a trade partner portal that can log in and also upload. And then we also have the utility staff that can go in and perform the upload of a large number of projects that have been maybe managed or calculated outside the system in a separate system. So we begin with an input file. The input file is then uploaded through the RAMP login. When we hit the upload button, the first thing that's going to happen is the data is going to be validated. Is the Excel file valid? Are the fields valid? Is the program valid, et cetera, et cetera? All of this validation takes place, and we configure that in the system. It then goes into the bulk import engine, which then loads the customer data, the project data, the workflows, maybe any of the steps that need to be run automatically through the project application process. The measures or rebates get uploaded, the incentives and the savings get calculated, and then finally the payments are taken care of here. And if there's extra approvals that need to take place on the payments or on the actual workflow process, those are then taken care of by the appropriate users, typically the utility staff. And this results in happy customer, happy trade partner, and happy utility staff, because you're able to do quite a bit of work within a matter of minutes rather than having to input everything on a one project at a time. Let's take a look at RAMP reports. So RAMP reports are available on the customer's dashboard, also on the partner's dashboard, also on the utility staff dashboard. So on all the various types of dashboards and user logins, even though you may see different amounts of data, you have access to the reports of your data. So let's take a look here. Peter Partner is the trade partner who logs in, and he decides here to select the reports in his dashboard. When he does so, he's brought to the report screen. Right now, we're looking at our savings report, and he can then select the 2020 bar, deciding to look at only the projects or measures that have been claimed in the year 2020. When you do this, your filters begin to apply to all of the data in the screen. You'll see in the lower left corner, the program offering data has now been limited. On the right side, you'll see that not all the sites have had projects in 2020, and not all of the customers have savings in that time period, and we see what programs are affected. We do see the totals in the upper left corner for this time frame as well. And now if I decide, let's select a customer. Let's take a look at a very specific customer, National Grid, for example. And I can see that for National Grid, I see their numbers. I can also see which sites are located under this customer. And in the top center of the screen, I can then take a look at what my savings are for the particular for this particular time period. Additionally, I can also hover over any of these values, and it will actually show me more information. Also, you'll see that the map has also drilled down. So I'm able to actually apply the heat map functionality of Power BI within the framework of the reports. Again, these reports are live and are interactive, and I can click in lots of different places to see the kind of data that is relevant for me. Let's take a specific site. And when I click on that site, I see that my KWH savings is even lower. I see that my map has potentially closed in even more. My savings totals in the upper left have also changed. And this is only relevant for one program at this site. I can also then take it a step further and select the focus mode, and that basically opens up the windows that I'd like to see and opens up me for potentially more projects and for more reports that might make sense to you. Let's take a look at configuration. There's 6 simple steps that we use when we configure the system for you. So first we have the program is configured. We then configure the measures. We then configure the users and the roles. We then do the screens. We figure out the email configurations, the notifications there. We do testing, sign off, and we are ready to go. So let's look at the program. In our program library, first we start off by providing you Excel application templates. You fill these out, and by doing so, we're able to rapidly move forward, and we can actually run uploads if our data is clean and correct. So we define in those application templates what the milestones are. We also define who the milestones are assigned to. Are they assigned to the customer? Are they assigned to an internal staff, a partner, etc.? We then define the email alerts. If a partner needs to be active on a particular step, we may want to send that partner an email alert and notify them that they need to engage at this point in the project for that particular customer. We also define the fields for the applications. We define approval levels, meaning let's say one type of internal user can approve payments up to $1,000. Next level 2 might be able to approve up to $10,000 and up to then $50,000, etc. We have 6 approval levels, which is typically more than enough. Most of our users really only use 2 to 3 levels. But it allows you to determine who's permitted to approve various dollar amounts and make sure that we have lots of checks and balances. We then define our document attachments that are required for each different application, as well as for the measures, and we are ready to go. In terms of the measure library, we again provide you measure templates. We provide you this in Excel. You populate this, and we then need to define the measure fields. We define the per unit values, 100 kWh savings for every boiler that is installed in a specific setting. For example, we define the formulas or the calculators. We need to be clear on the input fields that are needed in order for the formulas to run. These become the required fields. We define the images that should appear in the screens when we are selecting our measure in the measure shopping cart, and we are ready to go. In terms of user security, the customers have a specific view of items that they're allowed to see. The partners have a specific view of records that they can see, and if a customer has selected a partner on one of their projects, then that partner can see that customer's record, and vice versa. So there are overlaps when we have specific partners and specific customers on the application together. We then have our inspectors, and again, there is overlap between all of these. The inspectors might be called on to run an inspection on a particular project for a customer, and the partner might also have access to that. And then, of course, the utility staff has access to all of the projects and has an overview of all activities going on in the system. This is all managed in the Dynamics Security Role Manager, where we have a very intricate ability to assign who can create records, who can read records, who can write, who can delete, append, etc. There's a pretty complex configuration ability here within the system. Microsoft can get extremely granular. We try to keep these fairly simple and straightforward for you, but we can get as granular as needed in order to meet specific requirements. In terms of training and tools, training does need to take place on the system. Let's take a look at our options here. First of all, we provide you out-of-the-box user guides for how the system functions, for how the customers work, how the partners work, how the utility staff works in the system. But additionally, when we design the programs with you and when we have our program configuration, we also will create some tailored user guides specifically for these programs to make it easy for your users and your program staff to be able to work through a process. We also provide tooltips. That means on-screen information when you hover over a field that'll tell you exactly what the next steps are. As you're looking at the screen, you may not always know what to do. The customers may not always know what to do, but these tooltips are very, very helpful in designing that. Training scripts and tasks. So what we do then is we take the training, or we take the user guides and we turn them actually into training scripts. And we use these training scripts for the training themselves to make sure that you're knowledgeable of how to use the system. And then we have specific assignments to go in and create certain records, to perform certain functions. We then perform our training sessions on the basis of those training scripts and those tasks. For smaller teams, we would probably do end user training and we would train you directly. If there's larger settings, then we can also go with train the trainer if that's relevant for you. After that, when you go live, we then follow up with Q&A sessions. So we have web-based Q&A sessions to help you engage, because once you've sat through a training and you've watched somebody else do it, it looks simple enough. But when you get into the software yourself on a day-to-day basis, it can become fairly complex. Things start to mesh together. What button should I hit? I forgot. What do I do? It can get confusing. So we provide Q&A follow-up sessions for that. And then finally, we have a training wizard that also walks you through in the live system on-screen instructions. This is similar to the tooltips, but it can actually guide you through step 1, do this, step 2, click on this, step 3, upload that, etc. In terms of implementation schedule, you'll be working closely with Tiffany Marcos on this. A typical implementation for RAMP, depending on how many programs, but if we're looking, somewhere between 1 and 3 programs, and we're looking at going with our configuration tools for the program and the measures, we're looking at probably 2 to 4 months. We look at having some sort of contractual, if you assume a month to handle all your contracts and your setting things up at the begin of the project or at the kickoff. We then would begin with our analysis phase, and that in terms of setting up project management items, but also in terms of just analyzing and making sure that we've defined your project design and your applications and your measures properly. In doing so, we then begin the development phase before we even complete everything else, because we're staggering and we're working in parallel rather than sequentially. We're able to leverage that time and move forward in a rapid time frame here. So this is where we actually begin the configuration process. Once we have understood the factors that are needed for the design, we begin that. We start working on our training plans. We then go into system testing. We make sure that your users are performing acceptance testing, and then we train you. And really the time frame there could be between 2 months and 4 months, depending on how many programs we are implementing, how many measures in those programs. Once we do the go live, there's a warranty period that we'll come to an agreement on with you that makes sense for your implementation. And then the project closure then begins. That doesn't mean that the support stops though. The production support continues on beyond the project closure phase. It goes on because these are SaaS licenses that you are signing up for, and your security is handled through that, and your licenses cover the months typically it's a 12-month period, although you can also sign up initially for a longer period. So thank you very much. If you do have any questions, you want a demo, you want to be given your own live login into the system so that you can play around as a sandbox, please let us know. You can reach me at mark.shaw@accentgold.com. That's probably the easiest way. And if you need a custom demo to really talk through your needs and how you'd like to use the system, please let us know and we can also accommodate that. Thank you so much and have a great day.